I love Halloween, fancy dress, cosplay, whatever you want to call it, so much. The issue is that the way I have always done it is like plastic-based costumes and petroleum-based face paint and plastic eyelashes and plastic wigs and plastic. And this year I want to try something completely different. My first idea was to try and make something completely out of card and paper that could then be recycled, but I'm a little bit worried with the paper mache and the paint and tape and everything else. I'm worried it's going to contaminate the recycling. So now the aim is to make everything compostable, which means that I can't have any plastic even if I wanted to. So my plan is, I'm basically copying this girl off Pinterest. I'm going for a Maleficent/devil vibe. So I want some big horns, I want a staff. I have this amazing secondhand cape from a vintage store in Edinburgh and a secondhand dress off Depop. And the other thing I want to try and do is do this devilish makeup with no new products. Like only use what I already have in my makeup bag and just make it work. No wig, so I want to use my own hair. And I think that's it. So yeah, I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to make it all up today as I go. I've been saving up my paper and cardboard recycling, and it is depressing how quickly I gathered this much, but I did. And yeah, I'm just gonna get going. Because there's no plan, I'm not gonna be able to give you a step-by-step or anything like that, but I am gonna film everything I do and do a little voiceover. So if something goes well, I will explain how I did it. If it's a complete disaster, I just won't even tell you about it and it'll be fine. Okay, let's go. So the first thing I made was the staff. I had an old bamboo stick laying around in my garden. If not, I'm sure you can find them in garden centres, plastic free. Then I used so much packaging to make, I don't know what to call it, like the ball on the end. It is surprising how much I could pack on there. It was just layer after layer. And I thought I'd be able to hold it in place with glue, but no way. It was like, I needed something more forceful to hold it down tight. So I used this really nice tape. I love it so much. It's made of recycled paper and then compostable glue. I'll leave a link below if you want to buy it plastic free in the UK. And there we go, that's my finished staff. Oh, I loved it so much. So the next thing was the paper mache. I made my own glue, which I've made a whole video on how to make. Very, very easy. It's basically flour and water. So vegan and plastic free and all of those lovely things. And it was surprisingly good. Also, I know in kindergarten, I was taught for paper mache that you're supposed to lay the sheet down and use a brush and brush on the glue and stick it on. No way. I had so much more fun just dipping the whole sheet in the pan and getting messy with my hands. I genuinely really enjoyed doing this. And then to make the horns, I had so many different trial and error attempts that I won't even bother showing. The one that worked was cutting out the shape that I wanted the horns to be, and then a little bit similar to the staff, just packing on loads of packing paper and then using the tape to sort of like compress it all down and make it more 3D. I'm kind of annoyed at myself with how much tape I used to do this, because I would do one layer, decide it wasn't 3D enough, do another layer with tape on top, decide it wasn't 3D enough, do another layer. I wish I'd just been more cocky at the start and put on loads and loads of packing and then just one layer of tape to hold it all in place. But then that might have been a bit trickier. Paper mache takes so long to dry. I think that between each of these clips, they basically had to be left on the table for about 12 hours. So by this point, all of the glue had gone all gloopy and lumpy and not so great. It was a really easy fix though. I just threw it in the blender and then it was good as new again. Then to add texture to my staff, I ripped out pages of magazines at a time and glued them on with so much paper mache. I think this took more than 12 hours to dry. And yes, we've unsubscribed from this magazine, so hopefully they're gonna stop sending it. I also made a smaller pair of horns for my husband. I have an ego complex and I'd spent so long making all of this, I didn't want him to have the same size horns as me. I also thought, to be fair, because I have long hair, I could use long hair to maybe hold mine in place or hide more clips, whereas he has short hair, so I thought smaller horns would be easier to attach to his head. Somehow, I hadn't really got a game plan of how that was gonna work yet. So then this is me just adding the final layer of pure white paper mache over the horns and also the new textured parts of the staff, just to make it all easier to paint. I'd heard that if you paper mache with coloured or printed paper, it makes it harder to paint and you need more layers to cover it up. Obviously, I didn't go out and buy plain white paper, so I'm actually using the back of letters, which was a little bit annoying because even though I'd put it plain side up, a little bit of text would show through, but it really wasn't a big deal. I then made my own paint, which I was so impressed with how it turned out. I had a backup paint all ready to go and didn't even need to use it. I've made a whole video explaining it, so I will link to it in the video and also in the description below. Okay, so yeah, the first layer, it looks a bit disappointing. I was disappointed too, but the more layers that went on, it just got deeper and deeper and so much better. Especially the red, it's like it knew it was Halloween and I wanted this really deep, gothy, almost gory look, and it delivered. I was so happy. So the paper mache glue was amazing, the paint was amazing. The one part where this whole project fell down was how to actually attach the horns to my head. So my first plan was to use a headband and kind of sellotape / paper mache it to the horns and then wrap it around my head. But that didn't work. The elastic bands were like really tight. They'd sort of work back on your head and just ping off. It was a complete disaster. So in the end, I settled on taking a hair bubble that I'd made from tights. I ended up cutting those in half to make a sort of string and then using a barbecue skewer to stab the horns and then threading it through. If you want to find out how I make hairbands out of tights, again, I'm going to link it right here and in the description below. But they were not stable at all. So I tried to sort of paper mache more layers on to make the base of the horn more curved to my head and less wobbly. And I would love to tell you it was a grand success and everything was amazing. But I'm not gonna lie, on the actual night out when I was running around and getting drunk and being silly, those horns were flopping about all over the place. I don't know if maybe I should have curved them to the shape of my head from the very start, but either way, I should have done something differently because that part didn't really work out. But other than that, everything was perfect. I had so much fun running around telling everyone that I'd made my own paint and my whole costume was made from trash and I was going to put it all in the composter other than the elastic band. Obviously I cut that out. And I didn't bother telling other people this, but I'll tell you guys this. The dress was secondhand, the shoes were secondhand, the makeup was my own. Oh my God, this is like my first proper zero waste fancy dress win. Everything else has been such a fail. It's so nice that things are actually starting to work. I'm figuring it out, you guys. Yeah, my hair's come undone in the video, just ignore it. So yeah, that's it. That was my trashy Halloween outfit. I loved every single minute of making this. I can't wait for a reason to make more zero waste fancy dress. Thank you so much to everyone who's already subscribed. If you like eco things and silly fancy dress, then please subscribe too. And that's it. I'll see you next week. Bye.